So, microphone, lock up here. Yep, bring it up. That's right. But it needs to be like in your and.
Oh, okay. Like that?
Yeah, a bit closer.
How's this?
That's good. Don't worry about the cameras.
Very far back.
Yep. Okay. Lock in, mate. Have you done a podcast before, Mads?
Never. But I'm an avid listener of podcasts, so I've been imagining this day for a long time.
You've made it. You've gone to the top with the Sunday Run podcast. We've got a good listenership. We've got a good community, in fact. I'll just introduce you quickly because we haven't done that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday Run podcast. We've got a huge episode today, a massive guest.
Not too massive.
That's what Mum said. And it's my sister, actually. So her name's Maddie.
Yes.
Maddie Phillips, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
That's the way. Yeah, good job. I mean, podcasting can be pretty intimidating, can be pretty scary, but we'll help you through, and we've got a bit to chat about. So for those that don't know, my sister, she's older than me. By 2 years, we've done we're close. I'd say we're good siblings.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, you were often the smarter one.
Yes.
And in school,
we fell into the stereotypes quite easily.
which are
I was a bit more driven, a bit easier for mum and dad.
Yep.
Probably the golden child, maybe you'd say. Lewis was a lot more difficult, a lot more spirited, probably.
spirited.
And probably caused mum and dad to age a bit.
Absolutely, I caused them to age, but they're thankful for it now, and now I'm the favourite child. So, yeah, that's all right. Now, what do you do for work, Mads?
So I work in advertising. I've worked at an independent advertising agency for about 1.5 years now, which is sort of, I suppose, falls within marketing. But before that, I worked within social media marketing, and then before that, experiential marketing. So always been within the sort of marketing realm. I got into that through studying commerce at uni. I actually did a double degree of commerce and Chinese, studied Chinese all through school and kept it up through uni. And then marketing was a clear favourite for me at uni. So yeah, advertising is the industry, but my role in particular is a senior business manager. So I'm always managing the clients, and I guess I'm the glue between the clients and then the rest of the agency.
Absolutely. It sounds painful to me, but it's good you do it. And we got heaps of questions in regards to that stuff, so we'll get into that in a second. Now, this is a running podcast, Mads. I do running content. I make content in regards to running and try and get people motivated and out there on the tracks. Have you started running because of me?
Yes, but in a different form. Less long distance, I suppose. I love to do high intensity training. So running in the form of classes like 1R and treadmill interval training. So slightly different, but...
What do you think it is about that you like?
I love that I can push myself really hard for, say, 5 or 10 minutes and then just absolutely collapse. Whereas I find it's actually a lot tougher to go longer and slower, and I guess it's the mental side of it.
Yeah. It's a hard one though, because I feel like you're doing it wrong then, you know?
Yeah, probably.
But no, it's fair enough. And you've always been like pretty fit and healthy and into it. I mean, we've had the same upbringing, so you'd hope so, unless things went really badly for you. But
no.
I think, we're a pretty fit and healthy family. You've ridden horses most of your life?
Yeah, so I suppose we both grew up riding horses as our first kind of form of exercise, which is really quite physically enduring. Have done that for 15 years now. So it's been a big part of our lives. But then also in terms of other fitness, have always ran. I feel like that's a sport that a lot of people just sort of start doing when they're a young teenager. You sort of, you don't go to the gym, or maybe more so for females, but you don't go to the gym, or you just sort of go for a run. So I used to run pretty regularly just because I didn't know what other exercise to do, which I enjoyed and was always good at because we were, like you said, always quite fit, but sort of leaned away from running as I got more into the gym, Pilates, strength, HIIT.
Yeah, you've always been a big advocate for that. Now, you actually work crazy hours, and it's
Sometimes.
Pretty ridiculous. I can't believe that.
No.
Like sometimes you clock off pretty late.
Yeah, very.
Unethically late, I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, advertising is notoriously a crazy industry. Like they say, it's just sort of 24/7, which it's also incredible. You know, a lot of people have seen Mad Men. It's just like that incredibly glamorous New York City lifestyle. There's parts of that, but then also the other side of that is the burnout, which is incredible and like incredibly difficult to deal with. So it has been quite hard, especially the last year in advertising, trying to balance, I guess, the crazy work hours and I guess the expectations. But
yeah. So what about like lifestyle stuff? Sorry, I thought you were going into what I was just about to ask. So working crazy hours, how are you finding time to fit in like fitness and all that? Because you're pretty passionate about your fitness.
I am, and it just sort of came to me as an epiphany. I was working like 12 to 14-hour days.
It's ridiculous.
Every day for probably a good few months. And, you know, I definitely don't advocate for that. And sometimes you just have to do it, and it's not always like that, that's for sure. But, and I'm lucky, I love my work. But it just came to me as a realization one day that every hour of work I'm investing into someone else. It's not my own business. Obviously, I get heaps out of my job and I'm growing myself for my career, but every day that I don't do the things that are going to grow me as a person, such as exercise or meditation or reading my book or walking or sauna or healthy eating or prepping food, when I am constantly working crazy hours, it's so easy to not do those things. But you just sort of have to stop being a victim and just
you start to lose yourself as well, don't you?
You do, but you just have to make it work. So if it's getting up at 5 a.m. to do it for 2 hours before work and then crazy hours and then try get 7 hours sleep. But yeah, there's not really an easy way around it other than you just have to put yourself first.
Have you found, you're getting old now, have you found that that you're going to have to pick one, isn't it? It's like one out of the three. It's like social life, job, fitness kind of thing. Maybe social life's not the right word for it, but you can't go out and get on the piss as hard as you used to. And
very, very true. I've found that the ones that I value is my health and then how I show up at work a lot more. So naturally, social life, it can fall behind, or I've found that I'm much more interested in doing things with my friends that are less about partying. Like we used to party all weekend and really hit it hard through uni, and
showed me how to party.
Yeah, showed Lewis how to party. Took you to Rebs for the first time.
Yeah, we love Rebs. Shout out to Rebs. No, interesting. Yeah, so I mean, a big reason I wanted you to come onto this podcast, Mads, is because we do a business together, and you clearly didn't get the memo to wear the merch.
No, I didn't.
But that's all right. I did. So I'm repping Sunday Lounge for those that are watching. But you started Sunday Lounge first, and I bought in at the start of this year or so, I think.
Last year, I think, yeah.
Yep. So talk us through Sunday Lounge. Like, what is it, and how long have you been doing it? What spurred you to get involved with it? Get started?
It was during COVID in 2020, and I have always really been into fashion and specifically loungewear. Always been into comfort more so than discomfort, I suppose. And there was, at that time, not so much anymore, at the time a huge gap in affordable loungewear that just wasn't just from Cotton On and wasn't $200 from America. There was just nothing around. So it honestly just started from me being really, really interested in this category and noticing a gap. And I just went about it. I didn't have any big business idea. I just thought, I'll just order some samples. I found a really great manufacturer, started talking to them, ordered a bunch of samples, kind of went back and forth with them a few times until I found the right product, and just thought, if at the end of the day I spend X amount, I can at least just put my business degree to use. It can just be a bit of a case study. I had so much fun. I set up the whole website on my own, the Instagram, ran all the ads, managed all the manufacturing side of things, at least with the contact.
She was out there knitting it.
Just hustling.
She's doing
Which
everywhere.
is just crazy because I think back to that now and I just would not have the capacity. This was during COVID. So I was kind of I was still at uni, and uni was, I wasn't working.
Would you say like starting a small business, it definitely helped you get work after, like get a job?
Totally.
It was like a portfolio essentially.
My first role in social media marketing, they were blown away by the fact that I had essentially set up a brand that was just like one of the clients that they had in their portfolio, which was obviously made me an asset to the company because I understood the back end of Shopify. I understood how to run all the Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads. So even though, and that was such a core part in me getting that first role, even though it just really helped me stand out against others, I suppose.
Yeah.
So if anyone is interested in starting a business and is a bit worried, I'd say just take the leap. It does take heaps of dedication, but I don't think there's much to lose. I think if you can look at the money value and think, am I willing to lose this $5,000 or $10,000, which to me I was, then you've got nothing to lose because you'll learn so much.
Yeah, it's so worth it. I think people's like barometer for success or like, you know, like idea of success is if, you know, they exit the company with 100 million in their pocket. It's like, that's so not the case. You're going to learn so much out of just starting the brand. Even if you only get to like a month in, just starting a business is going to change your life. Don't you think?
No, totally. And I just thought, you know, I'll just buy X amount. I think I bought 100 units of these tracksuits in the first drop. And I just thought, if I can just sell them, or even sell half of them, or I had a number that I'd be like, I'd make my money back, and worst case scenario, I'll just go to those, you know, supply and demand shops that just buy them off you from bulk. And I sold 80% of them in pre-sale.
Yeah.
That was before they even arrived in Australia. And then the rest sold within the following month, I'd say. And it was incredible. That dopamine that you get, you just don't get that when it's not your own business.
No, absolutely. Couldn't care less. But
yeah.
I think, and that wasn't just 100 or 80 friends and family.
No. At the start, it's, you know, all these amazing friends and family members buying them, and that's obviously super nice. But it's incredible when you just have people from all over Australia or some even internationally who had seen your ads or on social media, and they just love the product. And that's when you sort of realise that you've actually made something.
Yeah.
So that was really, really cool. And then I did drop number 2 and expanded the range a bit. So I did a new range of tracksuits and then also did totes, caps and lounge sets, although they may have came after. Sorry, the shorts and T-shirts may have come after. But that was also at the time where I started a full-time job, and just the difference between, you know, I think it was just such a great telling of whatever you put your time into will blossom. So I was able to focus on Sunday Lounge 100% of my time through COVID, and then I got a full-time job and of course had to split my time. I was still packing orders every evening after work, still doing it all by myself at that point. But just because my time was split, I obviously had a new job that I had to commit to. It was amazing to see you could sort of see the instant drop off, which is just, yeah, I guess it's no surprise.
It's all part of it, isn't it? It's brutal watching the drop off. So then I came in and I bought half of it off you.
Yes, Lewis bought
so now
in
we do it
last
together.
Year, which was so great because I had started in advertising by this point, and as we were just saying, the hours and the commitment there was just crazy. And I sort of just thought, do I just dissolve the business? I wasn't running any ads, but I was still getting orders regularly. So the product was still selling, but I just didn't have the time for it. I barely had the time to just pack orders, let alone promote it. And then sort of fast forward now, Lewis bought in, and now we kind of have a team of people working for us or working on the brand, which is just meant that it's been able to flourish again.
Yeah, it's game changing. We got heaps to come with Sunday Lounge as well, like really big plans with it. We're kind of kicking it over at the moment. For those that haven't checked it out, go and check out Sunday Lounge. But it's exciting, and I think getting extra help in like, because I don't know much about fashion. I'm fashionably inept, as you know, but I'm also like,
you're great with business though.
I don't mind a bit of business. So big things to come on the Sunday Lounge front, and it's just it's a fun kind of passion driven product. Thing for you and I to do.
And it's so good because when one person's not really into it, the other often is. So when you're on your own, and honestly, kudos to people that continue a business on their own for a long time, because you like motivation drops off and then it's hard to keep going. You know, sales are usually not going to be consistent. Money usually dries up. But having 2 people just means that you can bounce off each other. You can sort of pull the other one out, or the one person can focus. We're so lucky with you, Louis, having so much expertise in the starting your own business and working sort of within content creation. It's just opened so many doors for us now.
Yeah, it's good fun. Go check out Sunday Lounge if you haven't already. Mads, you and I are very close, especially for siblings. It's I'm very thankful that you're my sister. We've always been like that, and I've always looked around at either whether it's friends or acquaintances and seen their relationship with their sibling and wondered why it wasn't similar to ours. Why do you think we are so close? What is it?
I often think about this, and I talk about it a bit with my partner Tom, because he also thinks it's quite hilarious how close we are. And it just would have to come down to the fact that mum and dad were always so keen on us being like having each other. And obviously we can't speak for other people's relationships with their siblings or parents, but I think at the end of the day they always were drilling into us that like we're only going to have each other, which I think was awesome because I feel like a sibling is kind of a best friend that you just never had a choice to have. But if you can make something great out of your relationship, it's just someone that's around forever.
No, it's fantastic. We're literally mates. Like we go on walks together all the time.
Took Lewis to Revs for the first time.
Took me to Revs
when he was 18.
First festival. Yeah.
Probably bought you alcohol. Am I allowed to say that?
You can say that. It's great. Talk about, you helped me through girl troubles.
Plenty of that. Woo! Lots of long phone calls and actually also staying over at my place a few nights.
After I got broken up with you. I was a little bit tender.
A little bit delicate.
Nice.
Just reminding Lewis that a lot of people go through this. You will also get through it.
But I love hard, man. I love hard.
Oh, you do. But yeah, it's been amazing and it's the best. I mean, we're super lucky as well that our family is so close, which also might be strange to some people because I know it's not necessarily the norm. But it's so fun. It's just like having another group of friends.
It is.
In a wild way.
It is. So mum and dad have a farm, for those that don't know, and Mads and I will just drive up there and kick it up there. We'll go up separately or go up together and it's good fun. We spend a bit of time there, don't we? Yeah,
we love it. They bought a property a couple of years ago now. So it's just been the best purchase.
You're still awake right now, which is great. And I'm almost surprised that you're still awake because you are a vegan. And I'm surprised she's had the energy to get through this far. I thought we'd have to have a quick power nap.
Thank you, Lewis.
I'm kidding. You've been a vegan for 8 years.
Yes, I have been.
Passionate as well. My goodness.
It's definitely, I suppose the passion side of it has kind of ebbed and flowed. I've never not been vegan. Well, actually, to be honest, I don't actually refer to myself as vegan as such anymore.
Ooh.
More so plant-based because of a few things that I've introduced into my diet that technically don't classify as vegan, which oysters. I'm fine with. Thank you. Mic drop.
Yep.
And one of those being oysters and mussels. So they're from a family of shellfish that don't have a central nervous system. And the reason that I am vegan is because I don't like to harm animals. So to me, that ethically eating them is fine, I suppose, and they have so many nutrients. So I suppose I don't really consider myself vegan now, but it's just easy to label it.
Yeah, sure.
For other people.
All right, so you're plant-based.
Yeah.
So that was 8 years ago. What was it? Do you remember the cattle? How old were you?
So I was 18. I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. My whole adult life I've been vegan.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, you poor bloody thing.
No, not poor bloody thing. The catalyst was I was actually studying in Beijing when I was 18.
That'll do it.
Watching
Go to the markets.
The carcasses hanging as you walk down the street, animal carcasses.
Who sent out of Beijing? We could have still had one on our
I know,
side.
no. And I was wildly hungover. I was studying Chinese, doing studying Mandarin, a short language course there. I was 18, first time I had my own apartment or a share apartment. Was at this university, which was like an international university, and first time kind of finished school away from mum and dad, partied every night. Beijing, we were in the university area, so the nightclubs were crazy. And I just remember one day I was so hungover I couldn't go to class, and I just sort of was laying in bed watching YouTube videos, as you do, and just stumbled across like some vegan influencers, I suppose. And I had never heard of it before. Well, I'd heard of it, I just never really understood it. And then those videos led me to watch all the documentaries, which are just, they make me sick in the stomach.
Watch them. That's
Because
good. Yeah.
you need to understand what happens. I think if you can't watch them, you shouldn't eat meat.
Sure.
So, and then literally, I just was so beside myself watching them, and I just thought I'm never gonna eat it again. And it was really easy for me. I never really loved meat that much growing up. I never loved cheese. We never really drank milk at home. Remember we drank soy milk from living in Singapore. So none of it was hard for me. And no offense, mum and dad, but they eat very bland food at home. And so does Lewis.
Yeah, we're not
that side of the family is not so it was so easy for me to just pass up the beige looking meat and veg. And when I got home and in China it's also really easy because there's because of Buddhism, lots of vegetarian lifestyles.
Yep.
Which meant it was so easy because I just say no egg. They don't use dairy over there.
So how have you found it? Like, you're 8 years on now, or when have you found it most difficult? Is it traveling? Is it
probably traveling? I've never found it difficult here in Melbourne. I've always loved cooking. There's so many great restaurants. Other than getting a bit of shit from you, everyone's pretty accepting with it. Some people like to banter with it, but I think you just sort of laugh along with it. The hardest places in the world that I've been, Cuba, but they had no food in general, let alone vegan food. I just had to eat beans and rice for 5 days. And then more recently, I just got back from Europe. We did a bit of Eastern Europe and Albania and Montenegro. Like the East is not as cluey, but it's not hard. It's just that the food is just not as in abundance as it would be here.
Sure.
We interrupt this episode to chat to you about some sponsors. Thank you so much to every sponsor of the show. Thanks so much to you guys for listening and supporting the show. It honestly helps us out a whole lot. First up, we have Brooks. You guys know I love Brooks. Brooks started with me early days. It was kind of just as my social media was picking up, and they spotted me in the market and said, Louis, we want you to wear our shoes. And I hadn't worn Brooks much before. They showed me the way. They showed me what a good pair of shoes feels like on the feet, and I want you to feel the same. So make sure you go and check out Brooks, pick anything up, and if you do so, send me a photo because I absolutely love their shoes. I'm currently running a lot in the Ghost 14s. They've got some elite colorways, and you should really check them out. Next up, we have Before You Speak Coffee. Thank you to Before You Speak Coffee for getting on the podcast. You guys are legends, and it actually works out really well because I froth their product. Like, coffee is incredible, but coffee that tastes good is even better. They have these mocha sachets at the moment. I put them in a mug, bit of hot water, a dash of milk, and it tastes like the most elite mocha. It's like 15 calories or something, and I just kind of pump them throughout the day. Not going to lie, I'm on a calorie deficit at the moment, so a lot of caffeine is necessary. Please go and check out Before You Speak Coffee. Cheers. Let's get back to it.
So have you noticed any, there's obviously lifestyle changes, but have you noticed any kind of physical changes? Do you find you have more energy? From what I've seen and the research I've done in terms of veganism, I don't know if you remember, I used to be quite passionate about it. I've never been vegan, but I was very well versed and I knew what was going on from Freely, the Banana Girl, and Durian Rider. Shout out to them. They split up, unfortunately.
Yeah, they were a bit cray-cray.
They were proper vegans.
Yeah.
That's who I think of when I think of veganism.
Well, yeah, and look,
potentially ruining the name for
a
veganism.
little bit. And I mean, I suppose it's just like with anything, isn't it? There's extremists for anything, whether it's religion or different points of view. For me, I think pushing your values on anyone is not appreciated by anyone, regardless of what it is. So that's not something that I've ever had an intention of doing. My partner Tom's not vegan. I have no problem with that. I forgot the question.
Just it's physical changes in regards to veganism.
Yes, because before I was vegan, all through high school I was anemic, which is low in iron, my whole life, because I never liked eating red meat very much. Whereas when I went vegan, I took so much effort to look into the nutrition. I'm really, really into nutrition. That was something that I was considering doing, if not going into
studying,
and
marketing. Working in.
So because of that, I'm so conscious of what nutrients and micro and macronutrients you need to be healthy. So I'm healthier than ever. I actually had bloods done just in December, and my doctor asked if he could use them at his next seminar.
Oh, fantastic. There you go.
So
at a cost, mate.
No, thank you. my data.
$100. Yeah.
So and I think I was always a healthy child. Again, it's so hard because most people don't have many issues up until they're 18.
Of course.
I was a teenager. I was anemic. I remember feeling faint quite a lot. I remember fainting a lot through high school. Whereas nowadays, my irons are perfect.
She doesn't faint anymore.
Don't faint anymore.
Thank God.
So, and I'm really conscious of keeping on track with that, getting tested.
So more energy? Do you find you have more energy?
Again, it's hard because most people would
No,
look
of
at when
course,
they were
makes sense.
17
Yeah.
and think, oh my gosh, like I never drank coffee in high school. However, I look at a lot of people I know and a lot of my friends and I do, I exercise every day. I work crazy hours. I run a business. I ride my horses. And I think you couldn't do all that well without
Good diet and stuff.
yeah, or just having energy and
you're
like
able to keep going.
being full of life.
Interesting. Do you plan to be vegan for the rest of your life?
I think so. I mean, back when I started, I would have said absolutely. There's no way I wouldn't be. But I just think over the years, as you grow up, you just realize that you don't know what life's going to throw at you.
It's almost an ego thing as well, I find.
Yeah.
Like saying, absolutely, I wouldn't. Like,
Totally agree. Drop the ego. Just think about all I care about is how I feel right now. I decided a couple of years ago to introduce oysters and mussels, and when I went vegan when I was 18, I probably would have thought that that's like you're a fraud if you do that. Whereas I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about the ego. So
That's not
who
what people
knows?
think, yeah.
If my doctor said to me, you're super low in this, you need this, then of course I would consider it because I have to put myself first. And who knows if one day if I'm lucky enough to get pregnant or have babies, I don't know what my body's going to want. But for now, I can say that I don't really see a reason to incorporate animal products back into I don't think I could eat meat. I cannot imagine stomaching it.
it's pretty good. A good steak.
You'd say that.
A steak's pretty elite. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair enough. How have you found, just off the vegan thing, good job.
Enough of that.
Enough of that, yeah. 8 years, it's a good effort. And
Thank you.
the animals all thank you. If you want to come back, then that's fine. They understand and they're still going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
I'm your brother. How have you found watching me do what I do in terms of the social media stuff? And what's been your take on it all? Where has it been annoying? Where has it been difficult? So on.
Great question. It's been amazing. It's so interesting. I don't think many people would get to experience this, but it's so interesting seeing someone you're so close to just take off in the public eye. It's so strange because you just know them as your younger brother. They're very normal to you. And for people to just obviously, I guess, fanboy and fangirl a little bit, it's incredible and also so funny. However, the contrary is that it is incredibly difficult when you know someone so well, when you see things online that are not necessarily true or comments that are just awful or not true. That is so difficult because you just want, I'm your older sister. I've always protected you your whole life, and you just want to sort of tell them all to
bugger off.
Yeah, exactly. But it's awesome. It's so fun. It's so entertaining. It's such a great way to spread your passion. It's really cool.
Have you ever found you had to defend me in any social circles? Obviously,
Sometimes I have. I won't go into it too much. A lot in the last couple months. Mostly people wanting the gossip. People that I haven't spoken to in months that just send me in years that send me messages wanting to know things, and it's quite funny. But I know you're not too worried about it either. So
we couldn't care less.
Yeah.
The social media thing's a funny one. You're pretty dialed in with it, so you understand what's going on. Watching mum and dad kind of conform to it is another thing.
That has been hilarious.
They're pretty switched on with it, particularly mum. Dad's a little bit slower, but it's all pretty relevant stuff.
It has been amazing. If you would have told them, 5 or 10 years ago that this would have been your job, and the amount that they know about it now, they you watch Dad. Dad used to call it the Facebook machine.
Yeah.
So it's just been amazing watching them sort of, especially boast about you to their friends and trying to explain it to their friends who are maybe not on social media and their friends don't understand it. It's just
Yeah.
It's hilarious, but they're so proud as well.
Yeah. No, it's good.
I mean, Mum always said when Lewis was younger, he's either going to end up in jail or as a billionaire. So I think we're on the right path.
I think we're closer to jail, to be honest.
Well, I think that's a great sort of summary of your not the jail, but just a bit chaotic.
Sure, yeah, a bit manic at times.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mum, she's done a lot, particularly for women in work. And for those that haven't listened to it already, I did a podcast with Mum as well, and that it's one of the earlier episodes. Fantastic. Spoke a lot about kind of women in corporate. She's done heaps for that. Constantly like reiterating feminism and those kind of things in our life. Have you found that to help you in your work? In your workspace?
Totally. So I think one of the main reasons that I went down the marketing avenue was because Mum always has worked in marketing her whole life. So that was always such an appeal to me, just seeing the amazing things she's done. But then also just within my job, having her on the sidelines, she's a leadership coach now. So it's amazing to see the impact it's had on me within my role and with my confidence, sort of knowing where I stand. I know a lot of my colleagues and friends and acquaintances don't have that, and I think it really shows through that they don't have that sort of support network or person to say, actually, you don't really have to stand up for that, or she's a big one with working late all the time, which she's like, you don't say no.
Yeah.
Maybe something that I need to
think about,
practice a little more.
So she's always huge on like the negotiation as well, and pretty bullish about that. It's very handy. I notice in my life as well. It's like so handy having that kind of. It's a mentor essentially. It's in our
100%. Even little things like when I was a bit younger or maybe starting out in my career, and I'd write an email and she'd say, "Okay, let me look at that. Remove all the justs, remove all the woulds, and remove all the shoulds."
Yeah. And the exclamation marks.
And the exclamation mark and the smiley face.
Yeah.
And it's hard to change that way of speaking and communicating. And it's hard to sort of be direct as a female, because I think for a lot of women, we've maybe not been encouraged to be direct. But that has been amazing, and it's been amazing in terms of communication for both of us, for me and my roles with our business. And we're so lucky.
No, we are. It'd be a bit of a trip for Mum listening to that. I reckon her kids talk gas her up
I know.
on a podcast.
We need to change topics.
Yeah, exactly. If you give yourself one piece of advice when you were 18, what do you think it would be?
I don't know if I can have just one.
Well, you're going to have to, mate. It's my podcast. So
probably other people can take responsibility for what they want you to know. And I know that sounds a little bit confusing at first, but so much of the time when you're 18 or younger, you think, I'm really worried about what this person's thinking about this, or I'm really worried that my boss, even though they said I could do this, they don't actually want me to. And I think if you remove all of, I'm really worried that my manager doesn't think I've done a good job at this. You spend so much energy, and I catch myself doing it now, but I try to remind myself all the time. You spend so much energy worrying about what other people think in any regard, but you have to remember that they also have the responsibility of communicating how they feel. And when you remember that, it takes that whole pressure off. I'm really worried that I'm working from home today, even though I've got 2 days a week I'm allowed to work from home. Don't worry about it then. Wait, if your manager has a problem, they're going to raise it with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that expands across to relationships.
Absolutely.
It expands obviously to work, friendships. And I think the sooner you realise that, the sooner you're going to be able to be a really confident, partner, employee, et cetera, because you know that other people can communicate how they feel as well.
Good answer. Great work.
I think about that a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you have any other things of wisdom you want to impart on us?
That's my favourite one.
You do love a good podcast.
I listen to so many podcasts. Wait, now I've gone blank, but I will think of others. I'm full of wisdom.
All right, you think up your wisdom, and I've got some questions. So I put out a story saying sisters coming on the podcast, asked some questions. There was heaps of thirsty questions.
Was there?
I had to weed
Should we
through
start there?
them. They're not in regards to you though,
Oh, and to
unfortunately.
you.
Yeah. So people asking you how they could marry me and stuff. We've left a few in, but
Oh, yeah.
but this first one is from Zav_Daniels02. What is her best memory of you both together? Can you remember one?
I was trying to think of some good memories of us, just in case this was going to come up. And
Chuck that mic.
I can't think of anything specific, but I have lots of little ones, of funny ones. So Lewis and my first sleepover outside, away from mum and dad, was with some family friends when we were living in Singapore, sharing a double bed, and he wet the bed.
Oh, I didn't just wet the bed.
He soaked
you were
the bed.
swimming.
I was swimming. And I think that happened multiple times.
Yeah,
we always was, for some reason, sharing a bed.
I was a bedwetter.
Lewis was a bedwetter. That's one of them.
Wading in the pool.
Yeah. Not sure if that's a favourite memory. It's just a funny memory.
Yeah.
You also were extremely entrepreneurial very early, and every single shopping centre we went to or supermarket, Lewis would go down on his hands and knees and look for money under the counters.
And there's a lot of cash under there. For anyone looking for a side hustle, get on your hands and knees at the local
and it was just like shame job the whole
shopping
time.
centre. Yeah, but I got a lot of money. So
There's a couple. There would be so many.
yeah, there's plenty. There's
A lifetime. We've done so many festivals together. Which one's been a favourite? Maybe Meredith or
Early
Strawberry was very, very fun.
If you're close with your siblings, I'd recommend going to a festival with them.
Go to festivals with your siblings. It is so much fun,
And
especially
your parents chill out a bit because you're together.
Yeah.
Cool. Paige Annalise, I think it is. Top tips for someone wanting to get into advertising/marketing without a degree.
Well, first of all, obviously you don't need a degree always, but I would like to emphasise how credible a degree comes across, not just for the industry that you're in, but I know a lot of people say they've never used their degree, and I don't think I've actually used the content in my degree to much extent, but I do find that being at uni, you were able to taught how to meet deadlines, taught how to write well, taught how to be punctual, taught how to manage a workload on your own. You know, through high school, you're not really taught that. So even though maybe the content in a degree doesn't apply to a job, I do think they are really, really great. And I know a lot of employers look for that. It's that commitment to a degree. However, if you don't have a degree, areas like social media marketing are amazing. They don't teach social media marketing anywhere. It's so new over the last, 5 years. I used to work in social media marketing, and a few of the girls didn't have degrees as such. So how to get there? I would recommend obviously just applying, showing how you can apply yourself to this role. If it's social media, maybe you've got a social media profile, maybe you've been able to do some work with brands, or you could just talk to how you would have a great social media strategy for brands. It can be, you don't have to do a course on social media, I don't think. I think you just have to get your hands dirty. I suppose just putting yourself out there.
Great work. Brooke says, have you ever struggled with body image / unrealistic beauty standards?
This is a great one. I think most women have in some regard. I suppose I'm lucky. I never have to an extreme degree. I think going vegan really, really helped me. I think we were talking about Freely, the Banana Girl, and During Rider. It was all about eating in abundance, because if you're eating whole food, like plant-based foods, you can eat as much as you want. And, they sort of encourage that conversation around not worrying too much about counting calories or anything. So I was lucky. I never got into the counting calories trap, which I know a lot of young girls. I remember there was like a bikini body guide going around that was like 1,200 calories a day, and I know so many people.
Shit.
In fact, I think Mum and I may have bought it.
Oh, God.
Back in the day, and I was just thinking, I'm a bit hungry, so I'm going to scrap this.
Yeah.
We were never overly, precious like that. And then I think going vegan just scrapped all of that, because it was just such a positive way of, eat as much whole foods as you want. And I've to this day still do that. If you're eating good food, then I think, but to go back to the question.
Body image, yeah.
Body image, not strongly, I haven't. And I think this is something else I always think about is imagine if every single person on this world looked exactly the same, how boring that would be. I think if you remember that and just sort of, stop comparing yourself to others, it's obviously way easier said than done. But
It's a big one. Not to bring this onto running, but like a big reason people get into running and why it doesn't work out is because they're trying to change their body. It's like, no, running's not going to change your body. It's like it'll change how you feel, and subsequently your body will change if you become consistent at running. But
I think the same is for veganism as well. Why a lot of people drop off it, they do it as a diet. A fad diet.
Not a lifestyle.
It's not, and it's hard, if you're not really focused on nutrition and what you should be putting in your body, then of course you're going to start to feel shit on it. It's way harder because you sort of maybe are an outcast to some of your friends. So yeah, similar to running, if you have the right purpose behind it, then it's something that you can stick at forever probably.
Great work. Angus says, what have you noticed changed since turning vegan? Give us a quick one here because we've done a lot on it.
Oh yeah, sorry. Probably, I said before I used to be anemic, like low in iron, and then now my bloods are literally perfect. That and probably just my love for food really developed.
You're a big foodie.
Love for cooking, big foodie, food and wine. Love it. And my love for cooking probably. That's just for a short answer.
India.Clark says, how to manage work with a healthy routine. Brackets, PS, I know she's great at it. Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the potty. So it's hard. Like I said before, something clicked for me one day in just that I just can't be the victim to my job. And obviously setting boundaries is so important, but I just also think if you can have the first 2 hours of the day for yourself, tick that off, and then you just can think, at least I've done that, you're going to feel so much better. So, there's been multiple times where I've had to cancel workouts, and obviously different depending on the scenario, but you never feel better for it. And I just think if you want to invest in yourself before your job, which hopefully everyone does, you just have to be so diligent about it and just not victimize yourself.
Great call.
It's a hard one though.
Mark says, of the generally 3 reasons for going vegan, what were your reasons? Health, animals, or environment?
So it started as animals, ethical, because of how upset I was by seeing all of the documentaries that I mentioned before. However, the more I researched and read, and I'm a big consumer of scientific papers and different podcasts and books, it soon became clear to me that, to me, it is the healthiest diet for longevity. So that also meant that I was able to keep it up seamlessly.
Beautiful. Olivia says, how do you maintain protein intake? And do you ever get hungry? Did you ever get hungry changing over?
Great question. Protein intake, it can be hard. So I don't track calories. However, I have in the past to make sure I am getting enough protein as someone who exercises a lot, and also protein is really good for hunger. I try to get around 100 grams of protein a day to even 120, which I normally can do quite well as long as I'm having a protein smoothie, and then through tofu, legumes, and I think people forget as well that all veggies have protein in them, just obviously small amounts. So if you're eating in abundance, you're going to hit those protein markers. And if you're a bit worried about it, I would just recommend tracking for a day and watching and seeing how you can add it in. I find that eating a high protein brekkie in the morning means that I'm not as hungry throughout the day. It means that my blood glucose doesn't crash earlier on. So things like a tofu scramble or a protein smoothie if it's warm enough. But yeah, and in terms of getting hungry at the start, no, because I think growing up, sort of that restrictive lifestyle was quite common. And then when I went vegan, it was very clear that I could just eat in abundance, What was it? 40 bananas a day. Freely the banana girl.
That's right. Jesus.
I never got that far, but
yeah, it got to 39. Baroni, I think, says, any advice for supplement/diet as a vegan to keep everything balanced? Kiss and a smiley face.
Oh, thank you. Yes, B12. Everyone needs B12. In fact, most people should be taking a B12 supplement. So we used to get B12 from the soil and from animals. However, because animals eat the grass and so they get it in the soil. However, because we have so over-farmed our land worldwide, there's not much of it in the soil anymore. which means that most people will be low in B12. I think they recommend, obviously, if you don't eat meat, you need to take B12. And they also say if you're over 40 or 50, you should also be taking B12, even if you do eat meat. So B12 is a must. I just do the spray under the tongue each morning. Vitamin D, if you're in Melbourne in winter, that should be everyone as well. And that's it. I don't really think you need many more supplements.
Good job. Well, thanks for coming on the Sunday Run podcast. We hope to see you running soon. Brooks have sent you out some new shoes.
Yes, loving them.
Shout out to Brooks. So if you want to, you should wear them and get running, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Louis. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, everyone.